Alright, greetings! My name is Braden Rombach, and this is my video commentary on the Book of Kells as assigned for my Anthropology of Art class. I wanted to look at the Book of Kells because I'm already quite fascinated by it, and I've had the rare opportunity to see it for myself at Trinity College in Dublin, where it is currently located. The book is considered one of the finest illuminated manuscripts in the world and is a national treasure of Ireland. Enclosed in the new iron bindings are 340 vellum pages made from sheepskin, containing holy texts from the four Gospels, heavily ornamented with extraordinarily beautiful artwork. The book is famous because of its ornamentation. There is not a page in this book that is not touched by some exquisitely written letter, stylized colorful animal, or carefully constructed pattern of Celtic knotwork. In a book that you would think should be filled with the accounts of evangelists John, Luke, Mark, and Matthew on the birth, life, and death of Jesus Christ, you will find whole pages dedicated to the blossoming swaths of colorful images and abstractly hyper-stylized letters beginning each new chapter. A modern onlooker, after being dazzled by the complexly crafted imagery upon but a single page, would want to ask, then, what was the point of making this book in this way? Imagine, if you will, that you are an Irish Christian peasant around 1000 to 1100 years ago. Your days are each spent tending to a field of crops in one way or another, or possibly a herd of sheep. You're accustomed to seeing the same people in town each day, and are accustomed to the same gray, overcast days that sometimes rain or snow onto the muted green fields below, depending on the season. But each week you get to attend Mass in the largest stone building in town, the church. A church built from stone and heavy wood, so that it may harbor you and your fellows in the not unlikely possibility of a Viking attack. Inside you congregate, and the priest delivers the word of God directly to you, so that you may receive a part of his light. You see that, beside the priest, on the altar, is a book. You cannot read the symbols often found on the pages of books, but you know that priests can read the symbols upon those pages to receive the word of God, after which they can give it to you. While the priests are only ones worthy enough to read the holy book, you do not need to read in order to see the beauty in that book. On the pages are the most beautiful and colorful images you have ever seen and you likely will ever see. The patterns and pictures interweave in and out with the holy words, embellishing them, forcing them directly into your mind. Is this, you think, what it's like to read the Word of God? Did God himself cause these patterns to appear, so that the importance of his words would be even more evident? Is looking upon these pictures what it would be like to look upon the miracles of God? It is because of these questions that you return to church each week and pray every day, because of those beautiful pictures and what they said about God without using a single word. Though the specifics are probably inaccurate, it nonetheless cannot be overstated the impact such a book as the Book of Kells would have had on the average viewer at the time. The Book of Kells, you could say, was designed to enchant the viewer. Alfred Gell puts forth the idea of the technology of enchantment, that art has such a major impact on its audience because the art has been manifested in such a way, with such skill and grace, that must only have come about through magical means. While our imaginary Irish Christian probably knows that books are the works of scribes and scriptoriums, the Book of Kells is so elaborate that it must have been made through other, more divine, mysterious ways, giving far more power to the text than if the text was just written by some stuffy monk in his hut. This is much in line with Gell's idea, who writes, "It is often the case that art objects are regarded as transcending the technical schemas of their creators, as well as those of mere spectators, as when the art object is considered to arise not from the activities of the individual physically responsible for it, but from divine inspiration or ancestral spirit with which he is filled." Gell 59. Take a quick drink of water. The creator in this case is the scribe. It is useful for religious creators and artists to take advantage of this technology of enchantment in order to more easily convince the people that their religion, Christianity, should be followed instead of any other one. This explains why manuscripts would be illuminated so that they can be enjoyed and revered by all people. There is something else very curious about the Book of Kells, other than its beautifully rendered pages. It is rife with spelling mistakes, poor grammar, mismatched formatting, and accidental repetitions of the same passage. You would think that a manuscript about the most important figure in the Christian mythos, Jesus Christ, would be at least competently transcribed by the people whose very lives are devoted to the accurate and methodological process of transcription of holy texts. You have to wonder, then, if the scribes working upon the Book of Kells intended to create a precise copying of the four Gospels, or if they intended to create something much greater. The words themselves have been repeated 1,000 times over, in 100 other books, a few of them likely already written by the scribes themselves. The priority clearly was upon the artful ornamentation of the text, which exists there likely only as a formality, in keeping in line with the need to keep the text somewhat related to God. Nowhere is this best exemplified in the book than with the abbreviation of the name of Christ to 3 letters, XPS. Though you might see this abbreviation as crude and disrespectful, each time XPS appears, it is given its own line on the page, and the letters are far more ornamented than their neighbors, creating visually the very holiness that the name of Christ implies. In this way can it be seen, then, that the pages in the Book of Kells were not intended to be another copy of the story of Christ, but rather intended to be, in the words of Clifford Geertz, primary documents, not illustrations of conceptions already in force, but conceptions that themselves seek, or for which people seek, a meaningful place in a repertoire of other documents equally primary. It did not matter that the Book of Kells was not a perfect transcription. What mattered is that it provided an original and unique outlook on the words of God, granting the words a physical, visible holiness that before could only be inferred. This is the importance of the Book of Kells. This is what the scribes wanted it to be, a visually beautiful rendition of the story of Christ that did not before exist and serves to be the holiness of God manifest. The Book of Kells was a vitally religious object to the people of Ireland. Today, in the modern world, I would say that most of those now who make pilgrimages to see the book do not do so out of religious fervor. Today, in the old library of Trinity College, all people can appreciate the exquisite pattern and masterful skill that the Book of Kells embodies. But you don't only see the beauty of the book. You see also where the pages are torn, where the inks have faded, where the toxic dyes themselves have eaten through the very page of the book. You do not see the original gold and jewel-encrusted cover the book was bound in. You see the iron replacement, after the original was torn away, likely by some Viking pillager. To look upon the Book of Kells today is to see an object that is possibly 1,100 years old, and it looks the part. In the exhibit leading up to the viewing of the actual book, you are regaled with the known history of the book, and are further impressed by it. Let me take a quick drink of water. Dry mouth. That the book's exact date and location of creation is unknown places it in your mind as an object seemingly sprung from nothing, created by invisible people in an invisible time. You only learn that it was created in a time of much turmoil. The book may have begun creation on the monastic island of Iona, where a Viking attack drove the book to be sheltered in the city of Kells. Or the book was conceived and completed in Kells by the same monks who fled Iona. Either way, the city of Kells, where the book was kept, suffered many Viking attacks, losing its precious cover in the process. In the centuries following, the book was lost and rediscovered, placed in one church or another, and suffered what at the time was considered repair but is now seen as vandalism. You, as an audience member, are armed with knowledge that behaves like chemical reactants that catalyze at the precise moment you lay eyes on the book. This effect has been dubbed resonance by Stephen Greenblatt. By resonance, I mean the power of the displayed object to reach out beyond its formal boundaries to a larger world, to evoke in the viewer the complex, dynamic cultural forces from which it has emerged and for which it may be taken by a viewer to stand. The Book of Kells endures as an artistic achievement unparalleled. Its magic, its ability to captivate an audience with its resplendent imagery, is still as potent as it was 1,000 years ago. This is because, in the words of Welsh historian Geraldus Cambrensis, if you penetrate with your eyes to the secrets of the artistry, you will notice such intricacies that you will not hesitate to declare that all these things must have been the result of the work, not of men, but of angels.